Hey, hi everybody. So good to see you all. Welcome to the SNS Chat. So we got a couple people here and a couple people on Zoom, so I'm going to try to do both ways. I'm going to start with a couple of little cards and some notes and stuff I wanted to talk about, and then we'll definitely have like a question and answer at the end for people who have questions. So at this point, I kind of muted y'all. But we can take that off when people are ready to ask questions, or I think you can even, I left it so that you can unmute yourself when you're ready to ask a question. So, all right, without further ado, I'll get started. So, if you guys were here, I brought a little no sugar dessert. I can show it to you. I mean, it's not to make you feel guilty or jealous or anything, but you know. So, all right, so these are some cherry oatmeal bake bars, and you serve them with Greek yogurt, and they are out of a recipe from this magazine, Clean Eating Magazine. And then I brought some copies, and I'll leave them at the office. People are welcome to pick them up if you want, or I would actually think about picking up this magazine. I subscribe to it. I have for a couple years now, and it's like, to me, a lifesaver. When we're doing something like the no sugar challenge, Beyond Sugar Challenge, you kind of have to look at the recipes and really make sure that there isn't any added sugar in them. But just in general, I feel like it's this issue is the February-March 2022. Honestly, I think any issue you get of clean eating is worth it. And they actually, when I did this in February, I feel like right around February of 2022, a no added sugar edition came out. And that was really helpful because I really felt like every recipe in there really didn't have any added sugar. And so that was really nice and easy for the original one. But I just feel like this is a really good guide and something. Yeah, I think Debbie said that she subscribed to it. If you can, I would subscribe. I mean, I would, just see how expensive it is. I don't remember it being all that pricey. Maybe like 20-ish, $20 to $30 for a subscription or something, if that. So, but I think well worth its weight in gold. So. Okay, so we are starting. So some of you are here just joining my Beyond Sugar Challenge, which, hi Julie, you made it, which I'm really thankful to have you. There's about 10 people who have joined the Beyond Sugar Challenge on top of the 25, 26 that are doing my 6-month program. So it's really wonderful to have the blending of all these people, as well as some people like Lim here has already done. And a couple of people on here have done the prior 6-month program and are kind of continuing for a year. So, so that feels really exciting to me. And to me, to be honest, I feel like Slow and Steady, the program in general, should be a year. I just feel like it's hard to get people to sign up for a year and to commit for a year. So the thing is I kind of capture you with either a Beyond Sugar Challenge or a 6-month program, and then once I got you hooked, I'll really reel you in. So that's so what we're doing now in our 6-month program. We've just finished, or we're just completed our intermittent fasting, or what we call intentional fueling, first month. And not to say that that's over and we're doing something else. We're continuing with that, but we're adding on the next habit. And so the first habit with Slow and Steady is that intermittent fasting or intentional fueling, or as I've been kind of thinking about it, more intuitive eating, because I really like that idea behind it, because I feel like that's really the goal that we're really going to get to, where we're more eating intuitively than anything else in terms of both when and what. And then the next phase that we're doing is we're going to jump into the clean eating. And I figured, since I want to run these quarterly Beyond Sugar challenges, that that's a really great way to jumpstart the clean eating phase of the program, because by doing this Beyond Sugar Challenge, now, we were talking about it earlier with Steph, it's the Beyond Sugar Challenge is not a no sugar challenge, it's a no added sugar challenge. So when you're going to the store and you're starting to look at your labels, which you will be doing if you haven't already, you're not looking at sugars, you're looking at added sugars. And we just want those added sugars to be 0. If some things have less than 1, I will let you guys decide on that one. But to me, in all honesty, if it has 1 or more, for the next 14 days only, don't eat it and just get rid of it. At the end here, I'll show you, I kind of brought a little bit array, so I'll show you guys on Zoom some of the examples that we have of just some foods that I think will make our lives easier to just know off the bat, have no added sugar, and sort of the brands that you can look for and stuff like that. So that's the whole idea of starting the clean eating phase with the Beyond Sugar challenges. When we do the Beyond Sugar challenge, we really get rid of a lot of stuff, right? We get rid of a ton of stuff with gluten. We get rid of a lot of dairy, and we get rid of a ton of packaged or processed foods. Now, some of the stuff I have here are packaged. They're like crackers or taco shells or tortilla chips. And so, yes, I think that you, to some extent, you have to kind of take it all with a grain of salt, right? Like to try to live in our society and eat nothing out of the package is almost impossible. I mean, even the pistachio nuts that I buy, they come in a package. So, you know, whether they're ones that I peel or they're already peeled. So when we say no packaged or processed, I feel like we're talking about a lot more what's in the food that's packaged or processed, but just as a general idea, if it's in a package or it's processed, I want you to kind of think at first, it's kind of off the table for right now. So by doing this Beyond Sugar challenge, we're kind of getting rid of that gluten, we're getting rid of the dairy, we're getting rid of the added sugar. So essentially, we're eating really cleanly, right? Because clean eating doesn't really have a very specific definition. If you looked it up, I think you would find like you could look in 10 different places and get 10 different definitions. So to me, clean eating, what I would like for each of you in the end, especially after the Beyond Sugar challenge, is that you figure out what clean eating means for you. And so for me, what it means is really minimal packaged and processed foods. I think you all know, if you know me by well, that I have a total chip problem, right? Like I am literally have a chip problem. Okay, so like to the point where I have to do like no chip November. Okay, so don't worry, it's coming. Anybody in the 6-month program, we're doing it. But I really have to like watch chips because I will like eat a whole bag of chips, especially if I'm like on call or post call or to me, chips are like a reward. And I think that's what happens to us a lot. We get stressed or we have a busy day or our kids were kind of driving us crazy and we sort of feel like we need a reward. And then that's, to me at least, where it all breaks down, because in that reward, you're just sort of giving me stuff that like in the moment makes you feel good. And we'll talk about why that is in a second. And then 20 minutes to 2 hours later, to 2 weeks later, make you feel awful and are awful for your body. So that's kind of that cycle that I want to break a little bit in this Beyond Sugar challenge. So that's where we're going to start. You know, the thing about sugar in general and why I even focus on it is there are studies that show that when you consume sugar, if you look at PET scans, it literally lights up your brain where your dopamine receptors are, and it's sort of like a feel-good substance. And again, so it's great, right? Because we're craving something, we want something, we're feeling like a reward, and we eat it, and we sort of have this like boost, and we feel a ton better until we start to really crash. And it'll be very interesting to me for all of you as you take out the added sugars. One of the things I noticed when the first time I did this is I ate something with like maybe even a piece of a candy bar or something. I was like, oh, I'm done with it. I'm gonna like have something. And 20 minutes later, I had this like really characteristic epigastric pain that lasts maybe 20 minutes. So it comes 20 minutes after, it lasts 20 minutes. It's really sharp and it's gone. And I never knew that it was that was the culprit. That just eating like, and it really is like that table sugar stuff, like the really gross stuff that's in like candy bars. That stuff for me, it's like I eat it now and I just am like, now I don't even eat it that much because I literally just don't even want the pain. It's like, it's not worth it because now I know the connection. So to me, it's going to be really important that you bring in that mindfulness towards the end of the Beyond Sugar challenge or part of the clean eating phase that we're doing, so that you're starting to link how you feel to what you're eating, because there definitely is a link. And if you haven't noticed it before, I think you're going to be really surprised if you start to try to notice it now, because you're going to see, I feel like, a lot of connections that you weren't really aware of before. So to me, it's kind of exciting, you know, because you get to like figure stuff out about your body, and it's a little bit depressing because you're like, I really should not have that candy bar, even though I really want it. So anyway, definite food for thought. So the whole thing about sugar is sugar's addictive. It really is like literally the bane of our society and our existence. I think it got brought in through like cereals and all the grains and all the processed food that came in the really in the 80s and the 90s. And I think that we really, to be honest, scientists didn't have any idea of how horrible it is for our body. But it sells, right? And you can put colors in it and you can make it look fun and you can do it as rewards. And so there's just there's almost been a blindness, if you ask me, to what the product is, what the substance is, and how it affects our body. And now finally, I feel like in the last 2 to 5 years, not only are people realizing it, but research is coming out. And to me, that's really the exciting part, where like science is backing what a lot of people have been sensing and feeling. You know, I don't know how many of you remember, I bet you, Jean, you did, like back in the 90s, it was all about fat. And everybody was like, oh, you have to be low fat, no fat. They put out this this substance called Olestra, and they would put it in like potato chips. And the whole push then was to be no fat, high sugar. And people were having like the most awful bowel issues from that stuff. And just, it was really wreaking havoc on our society. And we really had no idea. And I kind of said this in our last chat, but you know, we get like an hour of nutritional education in medical school, and I'm not even exaggerating, like an hour. Yes. So I have gone through and done like a 16-week nutritional program, just to kind of get myself up to speed, and I've done a lot of stuff on my own for Slow and Steady, but it's not come. And you know, I was just reading something else somewhere where they're like, you know, doctors sort of tell you even when you have cancer that, oh no, probably has nothing to do with your diet. Probably has everything to do with your diet. But it's just literally what's taught and what's been sort of passed along. And so finally, I do feel like there's enough people and enough scientists and enough researchers that are starting to figure it out and starting to get on board and starting to educate not only themselves, but their patients and society and stuff. So to me, that feels really exciting, because I feel like that is really where it's at. Okay, so when we talk about clean eating, like I said, everybody kind of does it differently. So what I would say is you are really minimizing your packaged and your processed foods. You are really minimizing gluten and dairy. And when I talk about this, I think a good rule of thumb is to fall back on our 80-20 rule that we do in the 6-month program in general. To me, gluten and dairy should be a 20% food, period. And that's not just during this like Beyond Sugar Challenge, that's just in general. When you go into the next month after we do the Beyond Sugar Challenge of working on eating clean and cleaning up your diet, I think you're going to find that gluten and dairy kind of have to go. As we've done some labs from people from the 6-month program, the people who kind of really kept cheese around and also I think animal products, we didn't see too much changes, and even sometimes saw a little bit increase in their total or their bad cholesterols. Because I think things like cheese, I think sometimes you think, oh, I can't have one thing, I'm going to kind of hop on another. And cheese really seems to be one that people are like, I'm just going to kind of go for the cheese. And so I just think we have to be careful there. I do feel like dairy and gluten should really be a 20% food for in general. And then more than anything, eating clean is minimizing those added sugars for sure. Like that is the number one thing of eating clean, is getting rid of the added sugar. And then the rest of it to me kind of falls in place, because if you're looking at gluten, if you're looking at dairy, you're looking at that packaged and processed food, most of it will have added sugars in there. So if you can say you're going to get rid of those, that's a good way to help get rid of those foods as well. Now, when we're not doing the Beyond Sugar Challenge, a lot of people say, well, how much added sugar can I have? So the average adult female has 90 grams of added sugar a day, and the average male has 110. Now, one Coca-Cola has, I think anywhere I've looked, 30 to 40 grams of sugar in one can of Coca-Cola. Okay, so put that, like literally put that into perspective right now. So the goal I feel like we want to have is somewhere around 30 grams, 20 to 30 grams of added sugar a day when we're not doing the Beyond Sugar Challenge. So that's what's going to come after these 2 weeks. But these 2 weeks are about literally getting rid of all of this stuff so we can just see what our bodies feel like eating real food. And so that's our goal, is to just keep going through. Hi, guys. How are you? If you haven't finished your eating window, you can have a little no sugar dessert. Oh, well, you can have a little treat before dinner. It has Greek yogurt, so it's all good for you. There's no added sugar. Okay. Okay, so we're just sort of going through like what clean eating means. So what it's not, we kind of went through the processed and packaged foods, dairy and gluten, and then really more than anything added sugars. So we're kind of talking about after the Beyond Sugar Challenge of having a goal of like 20 to 30 added sugars. So, you know, this is a good time to start looking at your foods, looking at your labels and thinking like, what do I have in a normal day? I wonder how much added sugar I have just in my normal diet. Start to think about that or process that a little bit. The things you can have in on the Beyond Sugar Challenge. So any kind of vegetable you want, you can have. Any potatoes are fine. Sweet potatoes, even white potatoes. You can have rice. You can have, because none of those have added sugar. So all that's fine right now. Fruit, I think you have to be a little bit careful with fruits. Berries and citrus, I would say, are your go-tos for sure. I'm always about an apple a day, Dr. Way. But I feel like if you start to get into a lot of the melon and you're starting to eat like a ton of melon, just those things have a lot, you know, fruit has a lot of fructose in it, and your body just sort of breaks that down, and it spikes your insulin, and it kind of does all the stuff that table sugar does. So table sugar is a mix of fructose and glucose, and fruits have a lot of fructose in them. So so just be careful about, you know, kind of going crazy with the fruits. You know, to me, if I were to have a bunch of berries, and if we have pineapple, I'll throw a couple pieces of pineapple in there. I just won't maybe sit down and eat the whole pineapple. So it's kind of things, again, it's sort of like the whole moderation idea. So you can have veggies, all veggies, you can have fruits. Healthy fats. So healthy fats to me include avocados, nuts, olive oil, coconut. Again, you have to be a little bit wary. I had another person whose cholesterol went up when we checked their labs, and when we talked about it afterwards, she was using only coconut oil to cook with. And it was a little bit of a tide over from Whole30 because they kind of recommended, but that Whole30 diet or a keto diet, they really do increase your cholesterol. So you have to be, again, kind of careful with those. Not to never use coconut oil, like this dish has a little bit of coconut oil in it.
What about like the coconut shred?
No, so you can do those. Yeah, you can do those. I think a lot of people cook their oil, they cook with this coconut oil. And so then that's just sort of coating all your food, and I mean, you're getting a lot of it. So I would say use olive oils for that kind of stuff. So olive oil is great in that regard. And again, not to not use the coconut oil ever. It's just maybe not for every single meal that you're cooking in a stir fry pan or that you're adding oil to. I think olive oil is way better than coconut in terms of your cholesterol. All right, so and then the other thing, so you can have veggies, you can have the fruits, berries, and citrus. We can have healthy fats, avocados, coconut, nuts, and seeds. And you know, nuts and seeds, I'll tell you, there's a lot in them that you can have, and there's stuff that's really good. You know, you can end up putting chia seeds and flax and all these good kind of things in your smoothies or in bakes like that. You can throw chia seeds, you can throw flax in there. And the seeds and nuts not only are really good in the healthy fats, but they're really good in those omega fatty acids as well as antioxidants. And so all of them are doing really good, healthy things in your body, and not so much bad in your body. So that's why those are things we want to kind of focus on. And the other thing that you can have when you're eating clean is we got to get to the protein, right? Like, where's our protein? So ideally, we'd want our protein to be from as much sustainable sources as possible. So, you know, grass-fed beef, grass-fed butter, cage-free chicken, cage-free eggs. I do agree that those foods can become really pricey. And so I think you have to balance. This program is not here to like break your bank. And I don't even think that that's realistic to, you know, I think that you have to be able to eat and shop within your means. I think that within that means you sort of do as good as you can do. And so if you can find something on sale, buy chicken that's on sale, that, you know, cage free or, you know, organic, and then maybe you buy two and you freeze one, so that you're getting it on sale, but you're just sort of being a little bit wiser about buying it on sale and freezing it. So then next week when you want to take out your chicken, that you're taking it out and it's the good chicken versus what's in the budget to buy this week. So again, just kind of being mindful of that. A lot of times I'll definitely see with eggs, a lot of times they have the good eggs on sale. So I just think a lot of it's just looking for sales. I have been really surprised in Flagstaff, where those are here. Natural Grocer is like a great place, and I'm always surprised at how inexpensive it is, especially compared to if you were to go to like Sprouts or Whole Foods, like especially in their organic veggies, like kale there is like $1.29 for a bunch of kale, whereas at Sprouts it's like $3 to $4. So Natural Grocers is definitely someplace that if you haven't been in a while, exactly. And I was sort of always like, oh, but that's what's so funny. And they'll have like everything you want for slow and steady is in one store. It really has like so much of the stuff that's up there. I got it Natural Grocers. Oh, they might have a dietitian. I haven't actually. Oh, so Megan's saying that Natural Grocer has a dietitian on staff. And I also saw they have a community room there, which makes me think of like, depending if we get our size, they have a nice community room there. So that might be something to fun to use. All right, so then we went through our clean, what we can and can't have with clean eating. So I just want to quickly go through sweeteners, because that's something that everybody wants to know when you're doing the Beyond Sugar Challenge. And so anything that's natural, I would say you can have. So maple syrup and honey, coconut sugar, date sugar, those are all like real food that have natural sweetness. So at the same time, like use them sparingly. Like don't, be like pouring honey into your tea, or, I think a teaspoon or so is fine. Stevia is the other thing that's natural. Stevia and monk fruit are two artificial sweeteners that actually aren't artificial. They're plant-based or food-based. You have to be very careful. They are very sweet. Like monk fruit is like 100 times as sweet as table sugar. So if you're using it in a drop form or in a powder form, it's a tiny amount. It definitely has a weird taste to it. So make sure before you like make a huge thing using monk fruit that you try it or taste it. I think stevia also has a little bit of a funny taste, and it, not to say you can't get used to it, but I was telling people here earlier that if you have a ragweed allergy, sometimes you will also have, you'll get allergies when you use stevia because they're very closely related in the plant world. So just be careful if you're allergic to ragweed. Sometimes you might notice if you're throwing drops of stevia. And I do think the drops are better than the packets. They're less refined. And so you kind of want to stick to as close to, you want to be as less refined as you can, but then more refined. So those are kind of all your natural stuff that you can have. So the maple sugar, the honey, stevia, monk fruit, coconut sugar, date sugar. Dates are a fabulous way to sweeten things. If you guys haven't, if you guys do smoothies in the morning, throwing a couple of dates in your smoothie will sweeten it up. You do not even need honey or maple sugar. If you're to just throw 2 or 3 dates in. There's a salad dressing I'll throw out there for you guys, a date mustard salad dressing I make that's like literally phenomenal. And it has like 5 dates in it. And it makes it like really sweet. So dates, some people will just as like right at like 7 o'clock, right when you're finishing your window or something maybe. I know a couple people that will have like 2 or 3 dates just as a little bit of a snack or a dessert or something, but totally natural, totally okay to have. Your body just processes it really differently than it does table sugar. So we feel like that's okay. So the one sweeteners I don't really want you to have, I just feel like aren't really good for you. Saccharin, please. I feel like everybody now knows we don't need sweet and lower. Saccharin definitely causes cancer. And a couple other ones that people don't realize. So the aspartame, that's what's in like Diet Coke. So I used to be a huge Diet Coke drinker. People who know me for the last 10, 15 years know I always had a Diet Coke in my hand. Now I have my tea. But the aspartame is nasty. So that's NutraSweet. So no NutraSweet, no saccharin, no Splenda, sucralose. All these I'm saying, they all like bump your insulin just the way that table sugar would. So they're really not any better for you. Plus they have crappy chemicals. So if you're going to do that, you might as well just do sugar instead of the crappy chemical, right? Like if you're going to do sugar, eat sugar, don't eat the crappy chemical that's giving you all these other problems, okay? And the last ones are the alcohol sugars that Megan mentioned. So a lot of times people are putting alcohol sugars in like workout drinks, especially, and in Trident gum. Now, when you go to the dentist, they'll tell you, oh, have your kids chew Trident gum because xylitol, one of the sweeteners, the artificial sweetener in it, is actually very protective against dental caries. But again, it's a trade-off. Maybe just teach your kid to floss and not chew Trident with xylitol. You know, that's what I would say, like floss, no Trident. Erythritol also, these are both, Truvia is the name for erythritol and xylitol. So if you see it in a packet out there, it's Truvia. None of it, get rid of it. Okay, so those are ones we want to stay away from. So without sugar, what are you going to notice? So one of the things that sugar does, we know, is it just causes a tremendous amount of inflammatory changes in our body. And one of the ways that it does that is through our gut. Now, our gut, it's fascinating because it's so simple on one level in that it's literally our gut lining is one cell layer. And you know, our gut is as large as like tennis courts, like tangled up. I mean, it's just 80 feet. I mean, it's ridiculously large, but literally its membrane is one cell layer. And so what's interesting to me about that is we'll talk a bit in Slow and Steady about the microbiome, but also serotonin. So serotonin, I think we all know, is one of the neurotransmitters in our brain. But the crazy thing is that, and it's a little bit of a feel-good hormone for sure, like antidepressants, Zoloft, Paxil, Prozac, those are all selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, meaning it helps you keep more serotonin on board to keep you happier and less depressed and less anxious. But what's crazy is 90% of your serotonin is made in your gut. And so when we talk about the gut-brain connection, embryologically, they are from the same tissue. And literally, they have the same neurotransmitters. And there's more serotonin in your gut than there is in your brain. Yet there's all these medications to up your serotonin in your brain. Whereas really what we can do, and this was a book that was really fascinating to me. So this is Uma Naidu. She's a you guys too. So she's a nutritional psychiatrist. She's Harvard trained. She's a chef and she's a psychiatrist. And in her nutritional psychiatrist from Harvard, and she talks a ton about food and anxiety and depression, ADHD, dementia. There's a lot of science right now saying that all of those are significantly linked to our diet. And I don't know about you guys, but when I first read this and I started thinking about it, I immediately go to our preteen, teen population. So whose diets are full of everything on our no list. And then their attention is constantly here. So we have these two major things, what they're putting into their guts that are then affecting their brains. I feel like increasing their anxiety, their ADHD, their depression, and then you put a phone and all the social media. It's not just the phone and the screen. It's the fact that they're seeing all their friends on Snap Maps are over there and yet they're unread, or they're, looking on Instagram and wanting to look like people, or TikTok and wanting to do all these things to get them to look a certain way. And it's like sort of killing our preteen and teen population, if you ask me. So a lot of you guys here that I know have younger kids. And so to me, the fact that we're committed to this lifestyle change feels really exciting, because I have a feeling if you guys buy in and you end up feeling differently, you will 100% pass that on to your kid. And you will stop buying Go-Gurt. You will buy regular Greek yogurt. You will stop buying Honey Nut Cheerios, and you will buy, you will buy stuff that's different, that doesn't have a lot of the. And I mean, trust me, I fed my kids. I say those because that's what I fed my kids, like all the crappy stuff. And I've apologized to them for the last 3 years, almost every day. But I literally at the time, I mean, my kids are in their 20s. I didn't know any better I really didn't know any better. I'm just being like flat out honest. And it was finally coming to this recognition of what we're putting in our bodies and how what we put into our gut. I mean, to even think that what we put into our bodies doesn't affect how we think, feel, move, be is ludicrous at this stage. It's everything. What we put into our gut it's important in every aspect of our life. So that's what I really want this clean eating phase and this Beyond Sugar Challenge to kind of allow people to focus on what I'm putting into my body. How does it make me feel? How's my sleep? How's my mood? How are your cravings? We're going to get through the first week and everybody's going to feel like crap and you're going to feel like you have the flu. And that's because our bodies are starting to switch from burning all the sugar that it's used to getting to having to pull from the fat, both the dietary fat and our body fat that we're going to start to burn because we're not giving our body the simple sugars to burn so quickly anymore. And you go through a phase, you go through a transition where your body now focuses on literally changing its whole metabolism. And so you end up feeling really differently during it. Some of that we've gone through, people have done the intermittent fasting. I feel like some people started to notice that a little bit clearer brain fog, a little more energy, especially during that last part of those fasting hours. I think some people get a boost, sometimes we're starving, but sometimes we're just like, we could go for hours, and it sort of depends on the day. So I think that this is going to just add to that. And we're going to start to notice some big differences in that regard as well. All right, what else do I have? I think I'm just about done. So I want to talked about it. Yeah, Naidu. Yeah, the last part I really wanted to go through was this book. So I don't know if you guys saw it, but this is your brain. Uma Naidu. Let's see, here's her. And she's also like all over social media, like she's on Instagram and all that kind of stuff. But I feel like this is really worthwhile to look at. So between the two, I mean, if you had to choose, I would say Clean Eating Magazine first. This might be one to see if you could take out at the library. Oh, okay, 30% off right now, Amazon, $20. So, and she's gotten a lot of recognition from it. I mean, it's really, she's gone to the White House, she's gone and met the Queen of England, she's gone all over. Everybody's hopping on it. But oh, I know the other thing I was going to tell you about it. So here's the other crazy thing about sugar. They are starting to call Alzheimer's, because there's a big link with sugar and dementia. They are feeling, most of the researchers now that are really focusing on Alzheimer's, they're calling Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes. It's almost like people are feeling that sugar is pickling our brains and doing significant damage early on. And if you don't change your diet, especially as people get older and they're more sedentary and they're kind of stuck in their ways, a lot of times their diet doesn't change. And if they've kind of grown up and just lived on food that's not very clean, it's more processed and packaged and sugary, that's kind of what they do, right? We become really, I don't know about you all, but like, I think for the most part, humans are very much creatures of habit. And especially as we get older, we get a little more set in our ways. So I feel like that's pretty interesting to think about and to just take note of and maybe even do your own research on or something. So, all right, that is my spiel that I have so far. So I feel like I'm going to start with the Zoom guys first, if that's okay with you guys. And if anybody has some questions, let's just open it up and give me what you got. Come on.
Well, I just wanted to pass along, and I can send it to you, but we made a glazed salmon recipe tonight. And it called for maple syrup, but really, really good and really simple. Yeah, so, and it didn't have any like added sugars or anything, and yeah, so I'll send that along. And I paired it with this poppy seed salad that had like a unsweetened organic bacon and cottage cheese and red onions. It was really, really good. So I can pass those two on.
send them to me, Molly. I will definitely like put them out to the Beyond Sugar Challenge group as well. If you want to send me either links or however you want to send them to me, I'll figure about getting them out to other people. But thank you. I feel like we all could use ideas.
And the
So a
salad,
quick question I saw from, oh, go ahead.
oh, just the salad dressing, it did call for sugar, but I substituted honey
Oh,
and it was
smart.
really good
Good.
for dressing.
Good.
Yeah.
I like that. Good choice. Okay. And did you just do a 1-for-1, like teaspoon to teaspoon or something?
Yeah, but the recipe call they made the salad was quite big, so I had everything and it was just the right size.
Okay. Perfect. Oh, good. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
We would love to see that. So Debbie asked on here, like, how much damage have we done? So the really cool thing about our gut is that one cell layer, it's constantly regenerating. And so I think that they say that you can kind of completely replace your gut microbiome and heal your gut in 4 to 6 weeks. And so that's a pretty amazing. You can really do some good where you feel like there's been a lot of damage. And you know, and I think what happens too is that then you take something or you eat something and it's not great for your gut. And so your body kind of feels it and processes it, and then you have to kind of make that decision if you want to keep doing that particular food or not. In terms of the brain, I think you asked that in terms of the brain, the cancer risk. Those are, I don't really, to be honest, I don't have like exact time frames with that or like exactly how long it would take for you. I feel like my MO in that regard is, you know, I did a lot of damage, I feel like, to my own body for years, especially in training. I was not very good to my body. Like I said, I drank Diet Coke up until like 2016. I think all we can do at this point is sort of try to move forward and just do better. I think I don't really focus on so much like the damage that I did, but I really just want to know from this moment forward, no matter what age you are, we want to try to do better. And so that's sort of my mindset. I can look to see if I can find any answers about those questions, but I don't know off the top of my head. What else did I have in there? I think there was somebody else have something they wrote.
Hey, Laurie, it's me. I was asking if I put in there that it seemed to me that BSC equals low carb, but then I heard you say today rice and potatoes, but then those were never on a list as far as I saw anyway. So if you could maybe just,
I feel like sweet potatoes. I have sweet potatoes in there. Yeah, in our pantry. I do eat a lot of rice and sweet potatoes. My husband prefers brown rice. I actually prefer white. And I know it's not the best for me. I just like it better than brown. So sometimes we'll do a mixture. But I mean, is it low carb? I mean, the Beyond Sugar Challenge probably does turn out to be sort of low carb, although if you think about it in terms of vegetables, like vegetables are carbs. So in that regard, it's not low carb, but it's just low processed. And that's why I have the potatoes and the rice in there, because I mean, rice is a little bit processed, but potatoes really aren't. And so it's just really minimizing the processed food. I would say flour more than anything. And like I have, I'm going to show them. So I have these up here that I brought in. So, and I did that on purpose because some of them are packaged, and so I wanted you guys to see, but like these Simple Mills crackers, they're like no added sugar. And so I had them like today for lunch with a little bit of egg salad. Like I just did a handful and I had 2 egg salad, and you know, so they are processed, but I do think at some point you have to kind of still be able to eat and live in the world. This is something that I've just kind of found recently. I don't know if you guys rice ramen, and like you can get it now at like Fry's or Sprouts or Target. And I like it because it's purple. So in the terms of eating the rainbow. But again, there no added sugars. And I add like, sometimes I'll just like boil it with the noodles and drop an egg in there and let the egg kind of poach in the water. And then add like bok choy or seaweed or any kind of veggie, and it just becomes like a really healthy kind of lunch, the way I use it. Seaweed, so even tortilla chips you can buy stuff. Like coconut, Trader Joe's, and so that I end up like a lot of times with nuts or cashews or cashew butter. I'll put some of that on an apple with cashew butter. And then here, like those same things. So cashew butters, careful like your Jif and your other peanut butters have a ton of sugar. So, but this is a pecan. Now, this is crazy expensive, I have to say. I do think that Natural Grocers has it cheapest, but it's like ridiculously expensive. So you like eat a teaspoon and you like feel like you're eating gold. So I just brought those things in just so people could see some. So I feel like we all have to work within the means that we can, whether that has to do with work, shift work, schlepping kids to and from things, just life. So to me, this is all about you do the best that you can do, that you pick a goal and that you decide what's important for you to have or not have in your diet. And again, for the next 2 weeks, we're just going to say no added sugars. And you kind of stick with that. And then we get the mindful piece in there. We see how we feel. Because if you notice that you're feeling better when you're not eating this stuff, it's going to be very motivating to not want to bring it back in and then to not want to give it to your kids. Because once you notice it and you just, anybody who has small kids, I mean, come on, we all know you like take them to a birthday party and they have the cake and ice cream and then they're all, it's ridiculous. Like it's like these high crazy energy and then these crashes and it's like these emotional crashes. And if you think we don't experience that, we do. We just do it differently, right? We're more equipped to handle it, or we maybe don't have such crazy outbursts, or maybe we do have outbursts, So yeah, I think to me that's like one of the approaches. I think Debbie wrote in here that you can make your own nut butters really easily, which I think is very true. And some of it has to do with I feel like now I have a little bit more of the luxury of time, just not having kids at home anymore. I think if you have small kids at home, you don't have the luxury of time of like making, we all thought we were going to make our kids baby food. Come on, how long did that last? So, I mean, be real. So, and especially if you have kids and a job and friends and extracurriculars and you want to work out and you're trying to do this program and, I mean, something's got to give. So that's kind of why also I kind of say like, there are things that we can buy at the store that are reasonable. So this is literally about like, we're doing the best we can with the information that we have and just with a couple of goals in mind. So that's the whole slow and steady part, right? Okay, what else? Do we have anything here? You guys. Anything? Yes. Yeah. Wine. So I put it out there in the very first email and your welcome email, but the Beyond Sugar Challenge is no alcohol for 2 weeks. Yeah. And mostly because of alcohol, like sugar alcohols. I mean, if by nature alcohol is sugar. That's how it's made. That's the fermentation process.
I had a few drinks yesterday, so I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
for 2 weeks I might as well go a little hard.
I know, exactly. She said she had a couple of drinks yesterday, knowing she wasn't going to be able to have anything for 2 weeks. Yeah.
And it does have added sugar.
Right. Sugar. Right. Right. So she's talking about yeast and sugar. So the yeast needs sugar in order to rise. So that's why gluten often has sugar in it. Go ahead.
It was like, I mean, I was kombucha quite often.
Right. No kombucha. Yeah.
Obviously, no kombucha right now,
Yeah.
but it's like a gallon. Because I used to make it, that's when she was drinking it. A gallon of tea required at least a cup of sugar.
Right.
To ferment.
Right. Yeah. So are you guys all hearing that? So we're just kind of talking about alcohol, sugars, and gluten and stuff, and just saying that these are the reasons why these items are off our lists for the Beyond Sugar Challenge for 2 weeks. And I think you guys are going to be, I'll be really interested to see what people feel like. I think alcohol is actually the one thing where people feel like they see the most difference in themselves, in their sleep, more than anything. Depending on how much you drink, maybe in your anger level. But definitely in sleep, I feel like people will notice it. The other thing that people noticed that was a surprise to me, and probably just because I feel fortunate, at least since I was 13, to not be afflicted by it, but a lot of people who have skin issues, whether it's eczema or acne, it clears up when you don't do any added sugars. Oh, thanks, Roxanne. Good to have you. So yeah, so skin clears up. Oftentimes we'll see sleep gets better, gut better, mood. And again, it'll just, what I would love is for almost ideally to me, you pick like 3 or 4 things that you're interested in seeing yourself. And people doing the 6-month program, like on that, our Slow and Steady Stats log, that's a good place to monitor it because they have all that stuff listed. But like pick a couple things and say like, I want to see how I feel after this in terms of X, Y, and Z, and like write them down, and maybe a week in, give yourself a little bit of like, where am I? And then 2 weeks, where am I? And just see. I mean, that's the only way that anybody's going to make any change in their life is if you see that it actually provides positive change for you. And that's the whole point. So, what else we got? Oh, say that again. Behavior
equals motivation times ability times prompt. Like that.
Okay, behavior equals motivation times,
Or plus, maybe it's times or plus, I can't remember.
what was the other one? Motivation, ability, and prompt. Okay, yeah,
With your children.
yeah,
It works.
that's
I mean,
true.
it all.
And it takes a while to change behaviors too, right? It takes, they actually say it takes 3 weeks to change a behavior, 3 to 6. And so again, if you ask me, the Beyond Sugar Challenge, we should do no added sugars for a month, but I don't think I would get people to sign up for a month. It's just kind of like slow and steady, like let's try 6 months because a year is harder. Now, probably a third of the people in my first group, when they did the 14-day, since we were still in the clean eating phase, a bunch of people are like, I'm just going to continue it, barring like going out for dinner for your anniversary or have a wedding but for, again, 80-20, for the most part, a lot of people decided they were going to just continue with the no added sugar or greatly reduced simply because they felt better and they noticed those changes. So I do think that's a good point.
Super sweet.
What's that?
Everything tastes super sweet after.
Super sweet. Oh my gosh. You're almost like,
Yeah, now with coffee, like it's been 4 weeks now, I used to put like all like the sugary creamer.
Right.
Now I'm just gonna splash with like unsweetened almond milk in it.
right,
And I actually enjoy tasting the coffee.
better.
And then when I go and try like a sugary coffee, it's like, oh.
Yeah, Steph's saying that she used to put a bunch of sugary stuff in her coffee and just even with the beginning part of this program, kind of switched to unsweetened almond milk. And that she almost just enjoys the taste of the coffee better now. And then you go to a Starbucks or you get something and you're just, it's like, oh, and you get the stomach ache. Yeah. So that's a very good question. Going out to eat during the Beyond Sugar Challenge is definitely challenging. Chipotle is a really good place to go. Like you can do Chipotle, you can do it on Whole30. Chipotle does not have any added sugar in any of their products. So that's a really actually easy place to go. I think the other thing that you would do is it would just be like a grilled chicken breast with some, steamed veggies, or you would definitely have to be like a high maintenance-y kind of order. Right, exactly. Like, can I talk to the chef? Yeah, it might not be ideal, but yeah. And a lot of times if we've had to, like back when we did Whole30 or we were doing some of these, if we had like something in Phoenix for the kids or something. Thanks, Sam. Good to see you. We would bring a lot of our own. If we were traveling, we would just sort of bring a cooler and have our nuts and have our cut up veggies and our, you can do so much with cut up veggies and like, oh, this is one of the, where is it? This is one of the things I want to show you guys. This is such a good sauce. So it's called bitchin' sauce. Have you guys seen this? Okay, so these are great. There's like a ton of different flavors. You can get them everywhere now. Fries, Target, Bashes, I think. So bitchin' sauce, this one is a spinach artichoke, no added sugars. It's again, it's sort of made from real food. Has almonds and coconuts, spinach, coconut aminos, which is sort of a more natural soy sauce without the gluten. So these are great. And if you like literally take one of these and a thing of cut up veggies, your kids are gonna go crazy. Like talk about like changing their habits. Like this is way better than really so many of the other dips and stuff that you can get. So again, just food for thought, some ideas. But yeah, going out to eat, Megan. Other than Chipotle, we're gonna see all each other at Chipotle. Right. Right.
All the bad things. But I looked at the online menu and I basically figured out, which grilled shrimp dish I could order,
Right.
and which side dish I could order.
So she's talking about going out. Yeah.
So going out to eat and like wildflower, I thought wildflower was off limits.
Right. I think wildflower you could do.
There's
Yeah.
some salad, a dressing to go and that no added sugar.
Yeah.
And even if it's salad and bread, which is totally fine.
Right.
It's sort of that, fresh homemade bread.
Right.
I don't have any.
Right.
You have to check the online menus and.
Yeah. So yeah, you have to kind of be that annoying person that like looks at all the ingredients for the next few
Yeah.
weeks. But it's worth it. It's worth it in the end. Yeah, so those are good. Those are good points because I think those are really important things to think about. And I mean, I think you have to think about that stuff if you want to be successful too, right? Because otherwise you just sort of like go out to eat and then you're like, oh great, I can't eat anything here. And then you decide, oh well, I guess I'll eat it anyway. And now you're kind of like off the deep end. So that's nice. Cool. What else? Anybody else? Anything, ideas or questions?
I think I asked you when I did the new sugar for the first time. I didn't understand, I guess, Greek yogurt that has sugar in it, but it's not added sugar, which was better, that there's some of these 0 sugar yogurts now, but then they have sweeteners in it.
Right. So Lynn's asking about like the yogurts and products that have like 0 sugar. Like again, yeah, we were looking at sugars versus added sugars versus we don't want to do the 0 sugar stuff because that's going to have your that's going to have your artificial sweeteners in it. So I would say I'd rather you, and again, like I'd rather you do full fat Greek yogurt, like the real deal, full fat. You don't want like non-fat Greek yogurt. Like if you're going to like that full fat is good for you. It's healthy. I think if you're eating it 7 times a day, maybe that might be a lot. But I mean, again, just like kind of anything in moderation. And also you're not like, hopefully you're having like 1/4 to 1/2 of a cup or something. Like you're not having 3 cups of full fat yogurt, So I think moderation, serving size, portions, but no, I would say you don't want to do anything, no substitutes in this. This is not about substituting. This is literally about eating real food. So you want it to be as real as you possibly can get it, as like real meaning the actual fruit, the actual potato, the actual, you're holding the substance in your hand as opposed to something that's packaged or has been processed. From the earth, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I found these cheese wraps at Safeway
Okay.
and they're lactose free. So I'm like, is that
That's it. Well,
or
it just doesn't have the lactose in it. That's like it's one of the main ingredients in
and
like
zero
no
sugar, 0
Oh.
added sugar. So I was like,
Great.
well, I'm gonna have
Perfect. Yeah. So Steph was saying she found some wraps that have don't have any
yeah, they're at Safeway where like the hummus.
oh, okay, where the hummus and stuff is in salsa and Safeway. So just some like wraps to maybe put like your meat and cheese and stuff for sandwiches during the day. I'd have to look at it. I'd have to look at and see if it's what she's asking about the saturated fat. Yeah. So like this, in a serving of this, which is 2/3 cup, it has 5 grams of saturated fat, and you want really no more than 20 to 30. So that's like 25% of your saturated fat you have when you have a 2/3 a cup of that. So that's your saturated fat. About 1/5 of your daily serving of your saturated fat, if you have that. A 4th to a 5th, I
You
guess.
said 20 to 30.
Yeah. I think 20 with your saturated fat is ideal. 20 grams of saturated fat is ideal for a day.
There are a lot of those fats in butter.
You have to look. Let's look at the cashew butter. And some of it, I just don't know. You literally have to look. So yeah, so this cashew butter, 2 tablespoons is a serving size, 1.5 grams of saturated fat. So 13% of your daily. So, 2 tablespoons though is that's a good amount. This is so good on apples, you guys, with a little bit of coconut. Oh, people who were here last time, that was the dessert I brought. We put chocolate chips on it last time because we weren't in the no sugar challenge part yet. We could have.
You bring Lily's chips?
Yes, Lily's chips are great.
I was.
All of their chocolate's good. Yeah. And are there no added sugars in them? Yeah. Are they cacao? So cacao nibs are fine in this because in the cacao, there's no sugar. Ah. So Steph's saying Lily's chips, or Lily's chocolates, I think are chocolates with no added sugars. Oh, and I think Christina Molinaro,
Yeah.
some other people talked about those Lily's bars too. So if you are dying for something sweet, then those are probably good options to have. That Lily's brand, Lily, is a good brand for some chocolates or whatever. That's good. Yeah. Yeah, and so that's the other thing that people will talk about. You'll start to see at first during this, it's kind of challenging, I think, at the end of the day. At least that was a challenging time for me for something sweet. And so I would either finish I'd be like, okay, 6:58, I'm gonna have because I stopped eating at 7. 6:58, I'm gonna slice up an orange, or I'm gonna have that apple with cashew butter and coconut. But I would always I still was getting into that mindset, and I don't know, what do you think, Lynn? Somewhere around day 10, the cravings kind of go away. It's weird. And I'll be really interested to see what you guys think. This is just personal and a bit of anecdotal from other people, but the cravings go away. It's kind of crazy where you're just like, oh my God, I could have made it to bed and I didn't even crave sugar,
And I think I remember the first.
Yeah. Right.
Then you get that 4 to 7, 10 days.
Yeah. It's because of metabolism switching.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you'll see tomorrow, I think it's tomorrow's email. I'm a big, if you guys haven't figured out yet, planner. And also a big Monday, I kind of what's my list for the week? What do I want to do for the week? What do I want to accomplish? What meals? And so on the weekend before, I'll often pick 3 meals. And so again, you'll see, I have my little tabs, I buy my clean eating. I'm these were the 3 things. So one of them I made, we just had it for dinner tonight, this quinoa soup. I put tofu in it instead of chicken. It has kale, it has onion, garlic, carrot, celery, turmeric. Instead of boneless chicken, I air fried tofu. Chicken broth, I did veggie broth. One of my stepdaughters is vegetarian. Quinoa and kale. It's the best soup. We were we've eaten it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for the last 3 days. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but so what I'll do is pick 3 meals, and then I shop for them, and I kind of prep for them. And so I think that comes out in tomorrow's email, where I give you 3 meal ideas that you can make for the week. And because I do think when you can be mindful, when you can plan, you're just setting yourself up for success. If you're oh, I'm day 6 of the no sugar challenge and I didn't pack anything for lunch and I don't know what I'm doing for dinner, the chances that you're gonna be running somewhere late and just stop somewhere and get fast food is really high. And so if you don't have to do that during these 14 days, especially since you've made this commitment and paid money, ideally we set it up so that you don't have to do that.
And getting other things out of the house is helpful.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good idea. Lynn said getting things out of bye, Flower. getting things out of the house. And so some people also, I heard somebody say, I'm going to kind of make my own cabinet. And so like what we did is the first time we did it, we just had an area on a counter that was just sort of like our food. And the kids knew not to really touch our food during these 2 weeks, just because we were sort of new and we were trying it. And like, we didn't even know if we were going to make it, you know? But just kind of setting aside and also just not having that stuff that you want to be drawn to like in front and center. And so maybe what they did, they talked about it, they actually took their kids' food and they put it in a different area. And so the kids knew that they could go there and eat that food, but that was off limits for the parents for the week. So whatever works for you. Do whatever works.
Hide the chocolate.
Hide the chocolate. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on like sparkling water? Is there like a max number of cans you can have in a day?
No, she's asking a max number of sparkling water
I
cans.
can't just drink regular water, and I'm used to putting like Neo in my water,
Right.
but I'm like,
That's crap. That's crap.
I
I'd
don't know,
rather
I can literally drink 10 sparkling water.
Just drink them.
I don't know.
Yeah.
All the carbonation
I think it's
is
fine. I
not-
think the carbonation might like bother you at some point. It might just be like burping a lot or feeling like gassy.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think it's dangerous. Thanks, Anne. Anne said to make my clean hummus. She feels like she said in there it's the best she's ever. It's better than store bought. So I did give you guys that recipe for the clean hummus, and it literally takes 10 minutes. I'm not kidding, and it is actually really good. And a quick variation, I probably put it on there, but handful of cilantro and a bunch of chopped up jalapeno. Then it's like the heated jungle. Yeah, or like their hummus, but it's just really good. It's just a little bit more flavorful. Yeah. I don't know if they have that at Peter Jungle, but I've had that before. But it's just more flavorful. The jalapeno cilantro hummus is really good. So lots of good ideas. Everybody has lots of good ideas. I love it. Cool. All right, awesome, you guys. Should we wrap it up? All right. For those of you who can and want to, Wednesday hit. Don't forget. If it's raining, we'll Zoom. If it's not, I'll be outside. Come do pull-ups. We're doing assisted pull-ups at the end of our hits, right? We got it. Awesome. All right, you guys. I'll see y'all soon. Slow and steady wins the race.